Thank you, everybody, Your Excellency, dear guest. Thank you so much for making the time to come to MBZUAI. This is a co-host event. MBZUAI is hosting with Mubadala. Let me introduce Umeima, who's the Deputy Chief Communication Officer from Mubadala. And she, as a co-host, will welcome you all and introduce you to the panel.
Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for being here today. It's a great joy for us to have gathered everybody here. As Spring just mentioned, my name is Umeima Abubakar. I am the Deputy Chief Communication at Mubadala. Earlier this year, I also had the privilege of being announced as the chair of PAGE. For those of you who don't know PAGE very well, PAGE is an association for Chief Communications Officer. We like to focus on helping build capabilities for chief communication officers and also work on the industry itself. Why is that particularly important? For a number of reasons. Being a global institution, but also being an institution that's growing in this region here, we like to create platforms like this one today that help with thought leadership, that help with networking, that help with really pushing the industry forward, a safe space for people to come together, try ideas, learn from each other, and also grow as an industry as well. So with that, talking a little bit about why we're here, we have a great opportunity being here, so thank you for hosting us in the Mohamed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence. As we thought about today, I used today as an opportunity to really think about what does AI mean? AI in terms of our industry in particular, I think means a little bit differently, and the panel will unpack this a little bit more. It's a little bit different for us as an industry. It's a little bit interesting in terms of the fact that we've been dealing with AI for decades, but it's still transforming in terms of how we are approaching it and what does it mean. Some of the conversations I've had with Spring in terms of like, but what exactly are we talking about today? Why are we having this conversation today? So nothing new to you. You all know this. AI has become one of the most transformative technologies or tools from the communications industry and in terms of our business as well. And how are we prepared in order to enable the future, in order to take us forward? We're standing, as I heard earlier today, at the threshold of a new era. You all know this, AI is a changing technology, and the UAE government has recognized it as a central pillar in its long-term strategy. So, as communications professionals, this is not our first rodeo. We've been here before. We talked about this earlier in terms of we've had Google Maps, we've had Google, we've had Siri, we've had Alexa. But what does that mean to us in terms of are we taking that technology and transforming with it and creating the disruption that we need to do today? Many of you in this room will remember what we consider as standard practice today probably wasn't the case 5, 10, 20 years ago. And therefore, as I think about today, I was reminded about what is AI. AI at its core is a communication tool. It is a powerful means to connect, and that I think is at the forefront of why are we all interested in AI. We all have a unique position and a role to be thinking about as we can advise our leaders, as we communicate with our teams, as we manage with our clients, to help them understand how we use this powerful tool, but more importantly, how do we cut through all that noise? How do we become effective in our roles? So, stating the obvious, as AI generates, how do we leverage it in a way that's effective, but more importantly, considering the risks that come with it in terms of misinformation as well? The panel will unpack a lot of this. Just to sum up and to wrap up, we are all coexisting or existing in a geopolitical environment. We're all forced in our daily lives to make fast decisions, considering the risks that come with it, navigating the challenges, thinking about how to uncover opportunities that other stakeholders haven't been thinking about, and this is requested from us in minutes. So as we think about how do we consider this environment, how can we better embrace the technology that's coming and the transformation that we're all dealing with? That is the goal of today. The goal is to leverage AI. It's to create a more prosperous and interconnected world. It's not just about enabling industries to adopt this tool, but it's also about laying the groundwork, not just for us, but for future generations to make further breakthroughs. So with that, I hope you enjoy today's agenda, find value in the conversations and the connections that we're creating here for today. Thank you for having me and for listening, and thank you for Mohamed bin Zayed University for hosting us. and Becky, not a stranger to many of you. Becky Anderson from CNN will introduce the next panel.
Thank you very much indeed. You made it all sound so easy. If we can, thank you. And if we can, address, just half of what you posited there, I think we'll have done a good job today. Thank you to our incredible hosts for putting together such a fantastic event. It's great to be with you all here today, and I think we all have a focus on one thing, which is the future, a passion for the future, and questions about what's coming. How this transformative technology is going to affect my life, my kids' life, the jobs that we do, the decisions that we make, and the society as a whole. One word, of course, theme that's central to all of that is artificial intelligence these days. How many of you already use AI in your daily lives? ChatGPT. How many people do more than use ChatGPT? Just quickly, how? How do you use AI? Got it? Or the equivalent, ChatGPT, yes? Got it. Whichever product it is. Yep. Anybody else? Yep. Okay. I just want to give you guys a sense of where the audience is at as far as the use of AI. I think we're probably all exposed to AI a lot more than we actually think we are, and certainly will be going forward. I think the strategic importance of AI in communication today, as you rightly pointed out, is significant. It is multifaceted, but we are only at the beginning of our journey. Most of us are at the very beginning of our journey. Today is all about taking a deeper dive into the now and into the future. There is no better place when we talk about AI and the future than talking about it here in Abu Dhabi, fast becoming one of the world's foremost AI capitals. And there is nobody better to drive that conversation and discussion than one of the world's leading AI thinkers, Professor Xing, President of MBZUAI, joined today by Giacomo Ziani from G42, an Abu Dhabi headquartered global AI company, VP of Corporate Marketing and Communications at G42. So to set up what we're going to do today, and to try and break down where we are at and where we are headed, just have a look at this.
While we wait, can I test the room again with another raise of hands?
Go on.
How many of you in the room believe that AI will eventually be a positive force for good and will have positive outcomes? Okay, it's a good majority. I wanted to understand the split. Let's play the video.
In Formula One, human meets machine. With AI, machine evolution is accelerating. Our sport is changing, and so is the world around us. And now there's a choice to be made. A choice between different futures. Will we choose technology that takes more than it gives, with data that discriminates and ignores diversity? Do we want more global inequality, or something better? Could AI be our alternative intelligence to help us find solutions to the problems brought upon ourselves? Can AI be a responsible technology that brings a new world of possibilities to all? Better performance for a better humanity. The choice is with us. It always has been.
And Lewis Hamilton poses a very central question here. Are we going to harness the power of AI for good, or will it drive a deeper divide in societies? And that's sort of the background to what I think we want to discuss today. I think the point of this discussion is to really try and break down where we are at and where we are headed. And I want to start with you, Eric, if I can, because you and I have spoken a number of times on my show at CNN, and it's been amazing to have you in and to see just how forward-thinking and forward-leaning you are, to understand where we are at and where we are headed. I think sitting in Q 2024, I'd like to get your sense of how this technology is going to transform our reality.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I want to thank Becky and you to come to our campus, to take this event. It's a big recognition of our role in the community. Also, I want to take the stage to share my excitement about a historic moment of AI as of today. So I just heard a few minutes ago that my colleague, Professor Jeff Hinton of University of Toronto, was awarded the Nobel Prize of Physics of this year. It's huge for the field of AI that we really want to celebrate, because not only this science is growing into maturation in terms of giving out a lot of amazing technology, it is also now getting the recognition from some of the best colleagues and pioneers and researchers in other fields such as physics. And you can probably see why Hinton gets a prize in physics, right? That means one of the origins of our current AI technology, such as the deep neural network used in ChatGPT, had its origin from some of the simple statistical models in physics. And the award, according to what I read, is to recognize the pioneering contribution of Hinton and also Hopfield to unlock that seemingly simple and primitive technology and grow it into what we see now as AI. I think that's one of the inspirations that always drive with scientists to push the envelope and also to further advance our technology. Now, getting back to your question about where we are currently in AI. I think the general public are taking AI at a very, very high level surface value as of now. It's about ChatGPT, for example. It's about becoming a human companion or a work assistant to produce contents. But I do want to remind you that AI is more than that. For example, we mentioned about Google Map. Google Map is one of the first AI product people didn't realize. You took for granted that you are given a path to drive, and also your maps can keep uploading the next map based on your driving. Imagine that a few 100 million people doing that on their devices itself is creating already a traffic problem on the internet. And that's actually solved by AI. And also planning your best route was also done by AI. Right? AI is more than ChatGPT. That's something I want to begin with, because otherwise we are going to build a lot of misconceptions about where the future of AI is going. I would say, of course, ChatGPT and the large language model is an amazing disruption in AI. We cannot underscore that. But the major disruption and excitement from the technology is actually more than just giving you a chatbot or a conversation system. I can say a few words about the bigger implications of this technology so that we can hopefully have a more interesting, exciting view about the future. In the past, when we computer scientists or statisticians working on a problem, we typically begin by asking, what is your problem? What is your data? And then we start to build a model for that. It's a one model and one problem and one data set approach. Okay, it's a one-off solution. I want to remind you that LLM and ChatGPT were never built for a specific application. It was built to simulate human lingual activity, not even lingual intelligence. Intelligence is a user experience that when you interface that, you will feel this system is intelligent. But that's not what the system is meant for. The system is meant for simulating language activities. You speak, and I mimic what you could have spoken and what I should have spoken, and so forth. And the system is using very, very fundamental and even simple mathematical mechanisms invented 30 or 40 years ago by Hinton, make it bigger, make it more adaptive to linguistic data, and then build a system which can reproduce all possible lingual content given any context. That's basically what the LLM is. Now you can probably see, why this system become powerful is because they are not aiming at a very specific problem. They are general purpose. They are meant to digest all human languages ever produced in civilization, not with a specific kind of task in hand to solve. And then when you need to solve a task, you do a little bit more in fine-tuning it, in specializing it. And this new approach is actually more important than the ChatGPT itself because it opens up a new paradigm of approaching many of the other problems that we're going to hit. So this research philosophy and the paradigm is what makes ChatGPT very, very special and important for scientists, even though the public may not recognize that. Now, it also points you where the AI is going down the road. In fact, ChatGPT and LLM marks the beginning of a large-scale foundation model approach to AI and to also societal problems in general, because it's easy probably for you to recognize that we oftentimes, even as a human being, do not do reasoning and planning in language. Anything that is beyond language is actually not supposed to be covered even by LLM. But you now have a tool which gives you the inspiration about what's going next. Imagine that you want to build a robot, which need to have something called the embodied experience of understanding the environment, understanding temperature, touch, feeling, and all that, so that they can become a qualified housemaid. You cannot ask ChatGPT to do a housemaid for you because they cannot walk. And even if they were programmed to give you instructions on how to walk, they cannot walk properly because people don't learn walk and swim and all that thing from book. You have to basically walk yourself. So that basically leads to the next wave of new models which will implement another form of reasoning beyond the lingual reasoning called the embodied reasoning. You can go on and ask, maybe I should have multiple such robots interacting together so that they can form a team. And that's called social reasoning because you need to understand each other and then build consensus and negotiate and so forth. So all this actually will give you, a very, very long pathway already going beyond current ChatGPTs and language models.
So as far as the LLMs and ChatGPT are concerned, these were breakthrough opportunities for the kind of masses, and these were big moments, big moments for us to consider where the potential for AI is today and where we're going forward. Give me some other examples before we move on to how we might better use AI in communication and how we communicate what is going on with AI. Give me some other breakthrough moments now and what you see going forward, which will really provide, good examples of the potential and the limitations of AI going forward.
Absolutely, yeah. I can sum up what I just said with one word. The ChatGPT is what can be equivalent to an iPhone moment, where you suddenly have a new general purpose platform that you can add many apps on top of it. And what those apps are actually would not come from me or scientists. It comes from the users. They define the needs, and then engineers and scientists will actually take that to build new applications. But I would say you will see newer and newer versions of iPhones, maybe down the road even a new gadget. But you are asking for probably is even something beyond that. What could be, say, the next SpaceX rocket, the next new vehicle that takes us to Mars and so forth, right? So I could try to name a few. For example, LLM and large language models is meant to understand human language. How to program life, right? As an organism, we were programmed by DNA and then turn into protein and then made into a cell. That's a new form of language that is not even linear. They actually have both a unique programmer and a program and also a unique vocabulary and also context of understanding for that. I imagine that it is beyond the human intelligence as we have now, to decode that kind of language, at least at the speed that we would want, because we want, to conquer diseases. We want to live healthier. We want to address public health problem. I think AI provides a brilliant tool to fast track about our understanding of the language of life. Imagine training a next generation model using biological information of all kinds, sequence, structure, cellular, tissue, and clinical, to form a model that is general purpose to simulate all activities inside a living organism and make predictions about anomalies, and also even allow people to program the expression of the genes and also the productivity of essential enzymes and antibodies. I think that would be a breakthrough in the space of AI for science. And then, of course, you can enumerate the AI for science in other domains, such as environment, being able to predict and optimize environmental management. In the space of energy, or in the space of chemical and physical discovery, that's another big area. Taking AI as a next generation tools to enable new questions to be asked. I'm not talking about only making the things done faster. It's about having this new tool at your hand. Think about what's the next problem you ask to really expand our imagination and identify new needs.
And I think you've just identified something which is really important here. As we start, most of us, our journey on the sort of AI route, as it were, what are the questions that we should be asking of experts like yourself as you are involved in the research and development of this entire technology? So, it's about how we, ask the right questions and communicate those answers to a wider audience. Certainly, go on.
If I may add to that, I think, I emphasize the role of people, in this whole journey, because it is the people who ask the question, and also it is the people who steer the journey and use the tool. This is very important. I just heard from the script from the movie, I just heard that can AI be a responsible technology, which is already a problematic statement because it is impersonating a technology and leaving the people out. I would say technology by itself is neutral. It is not responsible or irresponsible. It is the people who use it be responsible or not responsible. I think that education is needed so that people know the potential of an AI system as the next microscope, the next vehicle to go afar, and then think about how can we ask the right question and what should be avoided and so forth. So people have to be in the loop to steer this very powerful tool.
Giacomo, let me bring you in here. We are speaking to a room filled with communication specialists and decision makers. Can you just explain, for the benefit of those who don't know as much about G42 as perhaps you might if you were living here in Abu Dhabi, exactly what it is that you do and how AI can and should play a role in making us more effective and efficient communicators and better decision makers?
Absolutely. Thank you, Becky. Since we're still talking about kind of what AI is and what it can do for us, probably I'll start from there and share our vision of AI as G42. We see AI as a utility, the super utility of 21st century. So that's no different from electricity. And as electricity empowered the Industrial Revolution, AI will do the same now, probably with an even bigger impact for us all during this time. What is G42? G42 is a technology holding company, born and based here in Abu Dhabi in 2018. And it's quite a unique organization in the technology and AI landscape because it pretty much operates across the entire value chain of AI through its operating businesses. And what I mean when I say that is that we do everything from building data centers to offering cloud computing solutions, compute solutions. We have our own supercomputer, Condor Galaxy, that is used for training of AI models, and it's one of the largest in the world. to cybersecurity solutions, AI models development, and then we call these kind of the enablement layers. So you have the physical layer represented by data centers, and then the enablement layers represented by what I just mentioned. With this in place, we're able to deliver solutions across a wide range of industries, from healthcare to financial services, energy, oil and gas, sports, geospatial intelligence, and so on and so forth. And the list continues. And the reason why it does is because of what I said earlier. AI is a utility. Mm-hmm. And eventually it's so pervasive that it will power pretty much everything that we have around us, from devices to buildings to infrastructure, pretty much the same way electricity does so. Where we do have kind of gaps in this stack or in this framework of G42, we have partnerships with organizations like MBZUAI for AI research, with END for connectivity, with NVIDIA for training, and so on and so forth. So it's quite of a holistic and all-encompassing ecosystem.
So Professor Eric talked about the fact it's not AI in and of itself that people who are worried about AI should be worried about AI. It is the use of that utility. You know, for the benefit, again, of those who are communicators, those who are helping put policy in place, supporting decision makers here, how do we balance the need between speed, us being more effective, us being more efficient when we use AI tools today, and ensuring that we are ethical and trustworthy? How do you answer that question?
So I think there was quite of a powerful statement in the movie, the closing one, saying the choice is with us, and it has always been, right? And it reflects what you've just said. When it comes to AI, look, we need to be mindful that we're living a complete paradigm shift in the way we interact with the technology, we interact with other people around us, and this requires a whole new set of skills and a whole new way of thinking as well, and the way we process information as well as the way we use the technology. There's a process I like to call the 4 Ps that kind of outlines, I think, the way AI should be approached, and is first P is for prep. Okay, so you need to know what you're going to ask AI, as going back to Professor Eric's point about asking the right questions. The second point is prompt. You need to know how to create a prompt. Okay, prompt engineering in itself is becoming a profession, right? And poor prompt will lead to poor output.
Does everybody know what prompt engineering is here? Everybody understands that, yeah? Sure.
The third P is, oh my God, I'm missing the third P. I remember the fourth P, which is proofread, essentially
right.
review the answer, right? Review the answer you get out of the prompt. And the 4P is proficiency. So you need to put your expertise to discern whatever result you got out of the AI and eventually utilize it in your field. I think this is very much true for us as a communication professionals, where we don't want to just take whatever AI gives us and copy paste it into a document. There are still issues with bias, issues with hallucinations in the answers we get from LLMs in this case, and perhaps we can discuss a little bit more about that also, and why it happens with Professor Eric.
And let's talk about that, because I think there's much talk about whether the strategic use of AI should include frameworks for ethical communication, data privacy, transparency, bias, and algorithms. So you just want to address that. Why is it, first of all, that we are seeing that bias, those hallucinations at times, the bias? And how do we ensure that we feel comfortable in the environment that we currently are in and going forward, about who owns the access to that, who's devising these things?
Yeah, I think this is a very difficult answer. I don't even know there is a single, a difficult question which I don't even know there's a single answer to that. From a research standpoint, biases and misinformation, trustworthiness, and so forth is in a sense, subjective question. The answer exists depend on where you use it, who use it, and also when you use it. It's like you are asked to build a technical solution toward a moving target. If that's the case, I would say the solution exists only when you assume that such a moving environment is part of the problem and also needs to be co-evolved. And in that sense, the environment itself is also a solution. Look at how nature solves the problem of co-evolution between people, animal, and all kinds of life and the virus and so forth. There's a natural balance that people get exposed sometimes to risks, and then they develop their immune system to counter that. As doctors and healthcare workers, we know that it is actually not a good idea to keep any individual and people absolutely free from any germ and contamination and so forth, because that will make the person very weak. So I would say right now, we may be asking, in addition to contain what we see as today's risk, but also ask, how people can adapt to all these type of environment. I think right now, I remember last year when GPT was just released, people were overwhelmed by that. There are all sorts of shocks and emotions and so forth. And this year I heard a lot less than that. And I believe next year they may think the GPT is not catching up with their expectations. So this whole thing is changing. And therefore, setting up guardrails and setting up moderations, content reviews and so forth is, in my humble opinion, hardly pragmatic, to catch up with such a changing user environment and also the changing content.
But do you really want to see guardrails, and if so, set up by whom? Or is your world of research, the deep thinking that you are doing, the deep thinking that you've explained around AI and science, for example, today, does that, do you genuinely want to see some sort of governance around the work that you are doing?
Oh yeah,
because
governance.
People are scared about the sort of conversations that, even though the discussion that we've just had about AI and science, for example,
absolutely.
So much deeper than an LLM.
Absolutely, governance is very important. Just like in the auto industry, you need to have traffic rules, you need to have cops, you need to have road signs. But many of these exist outside of the car manufacturing and actually outside of the car engineers and also the car scientists. It's really about where to put the guardrails and also where to enforce regulations and so forth. I think right now such a discussion hasn't happened yet. People are taking AI very generically and say, let's regulate the AI. In fact, the people who got maybe impacted the most are actually the people who are doing research in AI. I think that's where we need to ask whether it is appropriate. The best, maybe a practice that I can see is that to let AI play out and see where this distribution of the risk really landed. Whether it is at the algorithm itself, or at the user interface, or at the user, or downstream, right? And then accordingly, understand where to set the checkpoints. In my opinion, many of the risks, especially misinformation, deep fake, and so forth, maybe a good percentage, even 90% of that, can already be properly filtered and handled by the user. And that remaining very, very, tricky and concealed content, 10% maybe still problematic, but next year that threshold will change again. Therefore, it is maybe, and also by the way, depending on where you are, that threshold also can become different. So it's practically very difficult to use a one rule to do that.
The work that you're doing here is deep and very forward-thinking. The work that's going on at G42 is having an impact on people here and around the world. The way that, for example, we use AI at CNN is a very prescient conversation that we are having as an organization at the moment. The journalism that we do at CNN and that you see published across platforms isn't impacted by AI at the moment. We had this discussion earlier on, and I think you slightly raised your eyebrows. I mean, when I'm saying we don't use deep fakes, we are not using ChatGPT, all the basic stuff that we started talking about, what we are doing is using AI to build better product. We are using AI to help deliver, distribute to the right people, personalize stuff, all the stuff that I guess in the world of PR and communications is all very familiar to us. I guess, Giacomo and Professor Eric, as we as an organization develop through our steering committees how AI will impact our business across WBD and CNN, so you will be having the same conversations about communicators, about how AI can affect their work. What can we expect from G42 that is new and different going forward? And what sort of questions should we be asking of G42 to best communicate your story of AI development and deployment?
Let me take a step back. I want to, again, make it very, very practical and try to offer some examples of how AI is supporting decision making. Pretty much, I think at any level, so from nations to organizations to individuals, and we can touch then on some examples for communicators. At nation level, a couple of examples I can bring. One is the work we did during the pandemic, COVID-19. So the whole response management of against the pandemic was running based on insights received from AI. So there was a platform that was essentially merging data from public sources, news, from hospitalization rates, from positive PCRs coming in from the laboratories across the countries. All these data were ingested into a single platform, and these were giving real-time, basically, insights to the decision maker to decide whether, for example, we had to extend the curfew or we had to block inbound rate, right? So that's kind of an application of AI and the power of AI for decision making at kind of a national level. At an organizational level, again, many ways in which it plays out. An example could be Board Navigator. Board Navigator is a solution we announced actually a few months ago for IHC, and it's very much like a board companion, a board assistant for board operations and board resolutions. And again, it allows, it ingests a history of documents from the company and organization performance, as well as cross-reference it with the market information and public data, and it delivers insights to board members that allows them essentially to set the path forward for the organization. Different domain, perhaps I can bring an example of the work we're doing in sports with UAE Team Emirates, right? We have created a platform that, again, ingests data from like medical data as well as training data from all the different athletes of the team, and give kind of insights to the coaches about who is in the best state to perform at a certain race, which is upcoming in the next few days. And again, if we then move down to the individual level, there's quite a lot of work we are doing on that front as well. An example is JAIS, our Arabic model, which was launched with MBZUAI last year, about a year ago, and that now has gone through several iterations, and it's the most powerful, most accurate Arabic model out there, and that truly empowers individuals that speak Arabic and communicators, obviously, to really gain access to generative AI in a way that was not possible before, because the Arabic language was really underrepresented in the digital domain. So these are some examples. When it comes to, again, ways in which communicators could utilize this technology, I think you made some examples, right, of how CNN actually is using it for distribution. Just yesterday I was listening to a podcast that was talking about audience segmentation and how powerful tools like ChatGPT are to create audience segments for product companies. And that is completely transforming an entire industry, which is that of the industry of market research, right? So the potential, again, is really limitless when we look at this technology as a utility, but it truly requires the expertise, first the expertise of the subject we want to investigate with AI, and then the critical thinking to understand what responses we are getting out of it and whether they are suitable to the use we're planning for them.
I think it's really important, again, for this audience to understand, the depth of expertise that we have here in what, as I described earlier on, is sort of, one of the cities at the forefront of AI at present. Just listening to you delineating where G42 is at, looking at how AI is both developed and deployed across this country in a fashion which is really quite remarkable to see, and the speed at which we are seeing that deployment is remarkable. I think you talked about the AI applications across sport. I know here at this university there are specialists across every sector, so we're talking about sport, finance, medicine, the deep forward-leaning work that you are doing across science as a whole. If you step back for a moment and just perhaps sort of close out this with the reason why you came here, Professor Eric, what you understood. You told me earlier on that you worked with Jeff Hinton, who we started talking about today, was just literally today won a Nobel Prize for physics. You worked with him as a youngster. If you sort of consider the journey that you've taken to get here, why here? When you arrived, what was the thinking, and where were we headed going forward here?
Yeah, thank you for the question. A couple of years ago, when I was presented this opportunity, that was a time before even ChatGPT or big AI. But from the academia, we can already sense something big is coming, and the old institution, the old operation may not be the best fit, because to do advanced research, you need to have teamwork, you need to have a massive resource, you need to have different incentive mechanisms, and also you need to have an effective way to educate the public and the mass, to understand and also support your work, right? To make all this happen in a single spot is not very easy. And what the MBZUAI opportunity presented to me was a once-in-a-life opportunity to start the whole thing from clean slate. You build the institution the way it needs to be built to enable and propel the advancement of this new discipline. and also to redefine the landscape and also the supporting infrastructure and organization, to speed up the development. So I thought that was fascinating. And it's a big opportunity for me, both in terms of my personal career, but also I feel I can make a big impact, to a region, to a people that really appreciate that kind of disruption and also the advancement. So that's kind of the main reason. Now, I want to actually follow up your previous question to talk a bit more about how to manage and also be ahead of the game of AI safety and also trustworthy deployment. We talk about all technologies of containing the risk, but there is the other side of the game, which is to educate the general public. There hasn't been too much conversation yet, at a populational and societal level about how to revamp our curriculum and also our entire public education in the arrival of AI. What should be learned, what should be taught, and how to teach them, and also how to unlearn certain things. All this actually has to be part of the discussion. For example, when we put a vehicle on the road or other new technologies, it's not just about how safe the vehicle is. It's also about how general public understand this technology so that they don't kind of over extrapolate or fantasize some of the intangible risks out there so that they become freak out. In AI, I don't think the current education is really designed to massively educate the general public about the nature of the new technology and how to use it. So I think that's very, very important. And that's actually also why I feel this university function is very, very central and impactful, because we've been actively engaging the public and also the stakeholders to reinvent the AI curriculum at all levels, starting from K-12, undergraduate level research. I think all this has to be now think more holistically to really get the public and the population prepared for the arrival of future technology, not just the current technology. Secondly, I also want to point out that, in fact, you just mentioned a very, very great point about having critical thinking about the function and the outcome, output of any AI system. AI system has no agency. Okay, it is literally just a tool. It is a people, who will use it. I would like to point out that in many cases, just like you see drivers. There are many stories about the drivers following Google Map blindly and drive them into a trench or somewhere without really putting themselves behind the wheel, right? Even when you're using a super powerful tool, as powerful as a autonomous driving vehicle, or an aircraft that is able to land and take off by itself, you always have a pilot behind the wheel to be ready to intervene when something goes wrong. That's the same thing we do for AI. You cannot just shut down your brain and blindly follow whatever come out of AI. I think it is just a tool making your life a little bit easier, saving your time a little bit, helping you draft something, but you have to be the gatekeeper of what come out of it. I think that kind of education and training in organization, even just in our daily life, is part of the solution to the AI safety, because together, there is always a symbiosis.
And the AI fear, of course, as well, because I think that actually, my sense is that there is more fear from an older generation and those who are new to this, and there probably is to a generation who are using AI on a daily basis, 16, 15, 14-year-old who's on their device all the time. I don't think there is as much fear necessarily from a younger generation as there is from one which is being asked to adapt and adopt at this point. Which brings me to my last question, really, which is, you talked about it's a tool at the end of the day. It's how we adapt to using that tool, and the time that we might otherwise in the past have had to spend doing tasks what do we do with that time going forward? Which, ultimately, somebody asked me the other day, how do we remain human in all of this? How do we remain human, and what do we humans do going forward in what is the era of AI that you have talked to us about earlier on today?
That's a great question. Now we review, the entire human civilization. We see new and new tools being invented. Isn't that making us more and more human, right? I thought that by leaving, things to systems that can do even better than us is to free up ourselves, out, for more thinking and to reflect our life and to think about the new potential opportunities. Imagine that if you have to work 6 days or 7 days a week, you probably don't have much time left to really appreciate life and to think about humanity, right? But I think, if you end up having many of your work or most of your work taken care of by a competent system, such as an AI system, civilization and humanity will thrive because we have more time to basically reflect and to think. So that's actually where I see, the AI revolution is going to advance human civilization even further. Technology is always, to my opinion, a good thing. We didn't realize how much technology do good for us. I remember 30 years ago when I watched TV and so forth, there are very often news about farming, starvation, war, and so forth. I have to say that now we're in a much better world. At least I very rarely see farming. Why? Because technology has reached to a point that we have enough food, literally enough food, for feeding all the people on the planet. And down the road, I think we also will have enough productivity, for our other work.
And it is shocking that we are seeing stories about starvation and war. I mean, perhaps not the stories that you used to see about farming. Unfortunately, we are still seeing these other ones. It's another issue. Thank you. Can you just? I'm just going to give you the last word here. How do we remain human in all of this? And when you put your, with your G42 hat on, Professor Eric has just, framed his answer in, this is going to free people up to have more time to do more critical thinking. That answer also frightens the life out of people. We are, in a world where we are running to keep up, and that almost feels like that's what we're supposed to do. Freeing us up to do more critical thinking is not going to sit particularly easy for many people. That's a kind of frightening idea. How does G42 go about?
If I may add one more point, I want to correct if I got misunderstood. It's not about freeing time only to do critical thinking. In fact, also to enjoy life.
Well, that would be a good thing.
Yeah. Look, if you do have time to sit down and enjoy a good glass of wine, to enjoy good cheese, it actually promotes the advancement of that industry. I think the demand comes from people who really have time to consume that demand.
You do that, don't you?
I
good
think
glass of wine every so often and some good blue cheese.
I hope that we invent something that really can free people up to do all that kind of things, right? So hopefully.
Thank you.
But I agree with Professor Eric. I think we should really all embrace AI. There's this concept of the center chess, which was, I think, coined by Garry Kasparov after he was defeated by Deep Blue in 1997 in a game of chess. And he said, okay, we need to become center chess players, meaning human plus AI will be better than solo AI and will surely be better than only human. I think today we should all become human AI leaders, essentially. So embracing the technology, utilize it in our day-to-day at work to optimize time, optimize quality of output. The level of kind of the average quality is now at a much easier reach than it used to be before. Obviously, we don't want to be average. We all want to strive for excellence, and that requires, as we said earlier, expertise. But AI truly, it's a tool that allows us to do more, to do faster, And when we're able to do things faster, that leaves us time, as Professor said, to start to think about the priorities we have in life.
Democratizing average, certainly not what we're talking about, but giving everybody an opportunity to get to a certain level and leaving, you know, then the space and time to become more specialists, better experts, is a good thing.
If I can steal one more minute from you,
Yes,
and I
do.
didn't have a chance to talk about the critical and distinctive function of a university to be in the AI game. In the current landscape of AI, you see OpenAI, G42, Google. It looks like the companies are really having an edge, in this global AI competition advancement. I think it's important to also keep in mind that Jeff Hinton is a professor in university. He has the freedom and also the drive, to do something longer term and fundamental to prepare this field of AI 30 years from his invention. And that's basically a core value of the university. University is the genesis of ideas, of disruption from its very, very foundation. Without that, you see the surface that is fast, fascinating, but sometimes, short term. I think a combination of having the intellectual core, within, institutions like a university, like MBZUAI, together, with ecosystems built by big corporates, great consumers, is a must for a full body and balanced community, to advance together.
And have you been impressed by the development of the sort of ecosystem that is, or the cluster that is, AI specialization here in Abu Dhabi since you've arrived? Because you sit as, with a partner in G42 and an enormous, sort of growth
Absolutely.
area and opportunity here.
Absolutely, yeah. That's actually, a good fortune, for the university that we came, at the right time, in the history, and also the right place, to be part of a growing and emerging ecosystem. I think that's also, critical, for us to cherish, to build the future together.
The ambition for that ecosystem and the growth in sort of expertise here and the story of sort of development and deployment is one that certainly at CNN we feel very privileged to have here, because internally as an organisation we look to develop where AI is as part of our infrastructure. How CNN WBD as our sort of corporate owner develop. So we become a hub here for storytelling in an era of AI, and with the experts that we have here, able to sort of position ourselves as CNN's sort of global AI hub. So actually I very much appreciate both the work that you do and the opportunities that we get from G42 to better storytelling in an era of AI at CNN and beyond. So thank you. I hope this has been valuable. It's not easy breaking down where we are at and where we are headed, but certainly, I'm losing my microphone, but certainly I've learned a lot today. We can all be better communicators. I think it's important that the work that you do here is communicated in a way that we can all get our arms around, which is important, but to carry on with the brilliant work that you do. We're all very proud of what happens here. And thank you, Giacomo, for your support and interest today as well. Thank you, guys.